All right, we are back here, and it's time to move on. Keeping it moving, okay? We keeping it moving. We keeping it moving. And should we take sides on the LeBron James and Stephen A feud? And I'm gonna lob this up to whoever wants to start this topic off first, by all means, because it's not gonna be me.
So, should we take sides? I say no because it's hard for me to. Because Stephen A, at the end of the day, this comes down to him, just talking about Bronny James's play when he got to the NBA. Mind you, he made a point not to talk about him in high school. Didn't even really talk about him much in college, even though his college career was short lived. He really only talked about him in the NBA, and what that came down to is he should prove himself in the G League before he comes up to the main roster for the NBA. And we've kind of seen it in Bronny James's play also. He's had some trouble getting adjusted to the speed of the NBA game. And I think what he showed in his last game, because he scored 17 points, it was his best game so far in the NBA, is that he's getting used to that speed that is on the professional level. You hit different levels as you play sports, throughout your youth. Pee Wee League is one speed. You go into high school, that's another speed. You go into college, that's another speed. And then you go into professional, that's its own speed itself. So I think now that he's kind of been getting used to the speed of the game a little bit, and he's been, starting to pick things up from JJ Redick, who's a fantastic coach. LeBron, his father, who is a basketball savant, has a high basketball IQ. I think we're starting to see that, and I think really only his play's been talked about. But at the same time, LeBron is a father trying to protect his son. So he's seeing somebody who is the face of sports media, one of the faces, talking about him in a way that he feels is negative, whether it's his play or not. He's trying to protect him. So I think as a father, there's a lot of people who would have done that for their son. I think there's a lot of people who would have wanted their son to have these kind of opportunities. And I think this is LeBron, you know, doing his due diligence as a dad, or at least thinking he is. And, at the end of the day, sometimes talking about somebody's play or talking about sports is an unenviable position. So it's hard for me to take sides knowing that neither person really didn't do anything wrong. One person is trying to protect, and another person is trying to give you takes.
All right, I'm gonna jump in here real quickly here. I'm going to firstly pull up a comment from my guy Kenny. Kenny, you're part of this show as well. Mind you, Bronny was a McDonald's All-American and projected top pick before his heart surgery. He looks good for someone that has gone through the adversity he's gone through.
I agree.
Yep. Okay. I agree with that. We got to
Yeah,
tilt to people making a comeback, man. It's not easy when you go through trials and tribulations as far as help to get out
especially
there
what
on
he
the
went
court.
through.
Salute to my guy Dame. I hope Dame gets better as well. But look, and Wimby, right, and all the players that's
Yeah,
getting blood clots lately. Uh, look, we shouldn't take sides because this is irrelevant, man. You got two. First of all, let me give a backstory for the people that's like tuning in. Like, yo, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on? Let me do it right because I did my research. I wasn't following it when it happened because I don't do the gossip. One thing about me, I don't like gossip,
right.
respectfully. But it's media. Here we are. It started outside, not outside, inside. I believe at a break during the game, LeBron James confronted Stephen A in regards to something that he said probably about Bronny, his son, right? And they exchange a war of words, right? And that has led to more exchanges as Stephen A, I believe, on his podcast said some things about LeBron. And LeBron did an interview an hour long with Pat McAfee and highlighted that beef. And Stephen A went on first take, I believe, from what I was told, and clapped back to start off his show. Now, uh we have to realize that number one, LeBron James and Stephen A have handlers. Okay. Uh, when you are the face of the NBA, okay, you are not a person that is your own individual. Everything about you is PR. Somebody giving you something to say, somebody telling you what to say. Things matriculating it, behind the scenes, right? LeBron James is not his own individual. I hope we know that. That happens in media all the time. Okay, you get a script, all right. Stephen A is the same thing. You don't become the face of ESPN without ESPN screening you, and doing their due diligence on if you're gonna play the game. And that's the game that they want you to play and the things they want you to say and look how they want you to look. Okay. So both of these guys are controlled people that I believe, personally, I believe this is fake and stage. I don't believe anything about this is real. I think it's clickbait, and maybe it's the conspiracy theory in me because lately I don't believe anything. I don't believe in any beefs. I think everything is staged. Fake,
Mm.
fake, 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 fake. You can call me right wing all you want, but things to me have been proven to be fake. And I think this is another prime example. But I want to dive into something deep here, right? Because we all know that Stephen A has revolutionized the way sports talk has been distributed, in my
Yeah.
opinion, for the worse. Because things went away from actual journalism to clickbait takes that
Mm.
half the time don't even make sense. Okay. We went from the RIP Stuart Scott guys that were good at their job, that gave you the facts, that did proper journalism, did their homework. Okay, Max Kellerman that was on
Mm.
First Take when I
Yeah.
used to watch the show. I don't watch it no more. Back in the day when I used to watch it, okay, had his facts ready to go. I hated the Tom Brady takes, but that was out of pure hate. Okay, he knew better, but clearly he
Mm.
knew what he was talking about. Other than that, and we went away from those guys and we hired the rah-rah, call out the people, call out the players. Stephen A has made a living calling out players. And sometimes to me, there's a fine line. Okay. You're gonna have to back yourself up. Okay, you want to talk the talk and walk the walk. He called out Lou Williams when he was drafted. Okay. He called out Kwame Brown, had a beef with Kwame Brown. He
Mm.
called out Jason Whitlock, even though he's not a former player, but a former ESPN host and FS1 host. And I'm saying to myself, I'm looking at ESPN as this platform, right? And they're very to me, they're liberal a little bit, right? I don't know where they are right
Yeah.
now, but they don't hire people. I'm pretty sure they won't hire nobody with dreads. Okay, they talk about you gotta look clean cut and all that, but yet this guy Stephen A could go on his platform and call Jason Whitlock a fat bastard representing ESPN. Okay, then he could go and say, "Oh, if I was in front of LeBron or something," he said, "I would have slapped LeBron. I would have hit LeBron." That's representing, that's the face of your network. This is why mainstream media is dead. This is why mainstream media is irrelevant. This is why Donald Trump is in office right now, because
Yeah.
new media is what's dictating who's going forward now. Nobody cares about CNN, views dropping. Nobody cares about MSNBC, views dropping. Nobody cares about, I mean, people still care about ESPN because they have the machine. Obviously, sports is directly connected to ESPN. I got to watch the game, I got to watch ESPN, but people are supporting new media now because of guys like Stephen A, who is just not taking this thing seriously anymore. With all due respect, I got to call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Yeah, he
Right.
revolutionized the way how things are looking in sports media right now, but I don't think it's for the good cause. And that's my take.
Yeah, to answer the question outright, should we take sides on LeBron James and Stephen A feud? And we should absolutely take the side of the player because sports
Mm.
journalism for the better part of the last 20 years has been away from the basketball game itself, away from the game itself in any sport, and has been mainly a soap opera. It's been mainly drama filled. They're talking about everything else but the game of basketball. When we used to watch ESPN, we used to watch Sports Center, it used to be about the game. It wasn't about the press conferences and the interviews and everything else that people like glamorize and polarize now. It was about the X's and O's. It was about the skill, the talent. It was about the sport. It stopped becoming sports journalism. We are ESPN is now the new TMZ. It's a
Mm.
VH1. It's MTV. It's entertainment. It's not sports whatsoever, and the players are sick of it. So when you get outlashes, you get the bad moments of these players, and then the media wants to say, "Oh, well, you're supposed to be better than that. You're supposed to be better than that." You're supposed to be better than that. You're the journalist. You're supposed to be covering the game, the basketball game, not their personalities, not their family, not even the stuff that's happening off the court. You're not CNN. You're not Channel One News. You're not ABC Night News. You're not political news. You're none of that. You are a sports journalist channel. Talk about sports. If the sport isn't good enough for you to get the viewership that you need, then maybe you shouldn't be covering the sport. You ever thought about that? Like, some people believe they need to do more and more and more in order to galvanize viewers to talk about the sport, the game. People need to focus on the game. Stephen A needs to focus on the game, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, all the other. He's theatrical. He's theatrical. It's funny enough because he's actually a character on a soap opera himself. So that's what I say. When I
Yeah.
say soap opera, it's directly correlated to what he's doing. And it goes to Fox Sports. It goes to all these different channels. Every single sports journalist nowadays is focused on the entertainment more than covering the game. Telling the people at home that are not privy to the X's and O's, that's not privy to what floppy is in basketball, or what a screen is in football, or what even a drag button is in baseball, and then talking about the science of the game instead of discussing those nuances. They're focusing on the drama part because everything needs to be entertained. Everyone needs to be entertained, and we have lost the essence of journalism in sports. Not journalism in
In
general,
general, and to me, in
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 general,
general,
sports.
I agree. In general,
So it's getting to a point where I'm in a player's side completely because these journalists need to go on and retire because you're messing it up for the new journalists of tomorrow. Because they're looking at y'all and say, "Oh, we have to follow this formula in order to write the game the way it needs to go." No, not at all. So that's just my take.
so I do want to say this. I can't point out any times where, as far as Bronny James go, where he's been talked about specifically outside of the court. But you guys brought up a lot of good points about calling Jason Whitlock a fat piece of shit, which I'm not even sure if that was unprompted. I don't know the stuff that goes on between Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith. And I think the stuff with LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith has gotten to a point where we are just making this drama continue and continue and continue, and there's no reason for it. We need to focus on the game of basketball, and there's nothing else to it. One person has one lane, which is to play the game and to put his game first, and the other one has a lane where it's his job to critique the game and to critique what's going on the court, as far as coaches, deals, play, things like that. So this beef, I think this being called the pointless beef is the perfect title, because after that confrontation, it was one thing to address it. It's been another thing for it to continue on the Pat McAfee show, which I have not had the chance to view yet. I may take a chance to listen to it now, and clapping back afterwards. I think this is a beef that has just gone on too long and is become just unnecessary. I'm not a big gossip guy either, which is probably why I don't know the things that are going on in the Jason Whitlock and Stephen A world, because I don't care, and I don't care to see it. And as far as LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith, I only know, the first confrontation, and it was addressed afterwards. Because this is just unnecessary BS that, none of us need to be absorbing. This is when two people have an issue. You talk about it, you address it if necessary moving forward, and then you move on with your day. And that is what it is. when you see two figures doing it in such a public manner instead of playing the game or talking about the game. It's we don't need to see that. It's not my thing that I need to watch, and I know I'm going to be looking for it when I see LeBron and Pat McAfee, but I'm not even going to remember it afterwards.
I mean,
'Cause
look, the reality is
I'm
this is
rambling. I'm
why
sorry.
Stephen A has to walk out with security. This is why he has to hire security because he's made a living calling out players. And yeah, I understand your job is to critique the game and all that, but when it gets personal, when you start going beyond the game itself and you start making things personal, that's when you're moving away from the game and you're not doing your job and what your job should entail, right? And I think for me, when you look at, because I was told this, like I said, I don't watch mainstream shows like that. I think it's a conflict of interest because I do a show, so I'm just not doing it. And plus, I
Yeah.
don't support mainstream media too, so it's a
Right.
double edged sword for me. But get people like my dad that watch the show faithfully, that watch all the mainstream because he's old school. Mainstream still has some of those old school, people that still tapping in. But the new school's out. But he told me that he started the show on the beef. I believe 2 days ago. He started the show, first take, clapping back at LeBron. And I'm saying to myself, how is that when you have so much news that you can start off your show with, like
Mm-mm.
March Madness, okay? Like Damian Lillard, unfortunately, having a blood clot that may end his season, hopefully not his career, instead of you paying homage and talking about that and what that means for the Bucks, championship hopes or whatever creative topic you come up with, or March Madness or the NBA and these games going on, we starting up the show like that, and that's what we're consuming as people watching the show. No, this is why everybody's so dumbed down and don't know what the hell they're talking about. That combined with
Right.
social media has made everybody dumb. And the sad part about it is that everybody think they know what they're doing. Everybody think they know what's going on and they don't. Social media and the way how we consume things has made us believe we're the smartest people in the room, but we really the dumbest people in the room. And Stephen A, ESPN, social
Ah,
media in general, entertainment, the way how things have shifted has played into the dumbed down society. And I hate to get philosophical, but it's the truth that we are living in today where everything is not about substance anymore. It's about clicks. And that's just what it is.
I apologize for jumping. By the way, my cat just scratched the shit out of me on the side.
It's all good, bro. I'm allergic to cats, by the way. So, glad I ain't see him
Nah,
because I'll probably start sneezing.
it's
Okay.
all good. I'm allergic to the BS. I might start sneezing when I watch that show with Pat McAfee. To
No,
be
I hear
honest
you
with
on
you,
that. I hear
that
you on
might
that.
give
I'm
me a sore
allergic to the
throat.
BS too, man. But anyway, we're gonna move on here. I think that's enough on that topic.